The Pentagon investigator's voice was ice cold when she called Stephen Morrison at 9:15 Monday morning. "Sir, your company's security authorization has been suspended. Effective immediately." I was sitting in my kitchen, drinking coffee, watching my former CEO's world collapse through a phone call I'd been expecting for 96 hours. "My name is Richard Palmer. I'm 54 years old, and I just accidentally destroyed a $180 million defense contracting company without lifting a finger. Let me back up to Thursday afternoon and tell you how this all started. I'm sitting in Apex Security Systems' main conference room in Austin, watching Stephen Morrison deliver the news that would end my 19-year career. Stephen's 35 years old, MBA from Northwestern, and the kind of CEO who inherited Daddy's company 5 years ago, and has been modernizing everything since. "You're being restructured out," he said, sliding a manila folder across the mahogany table like he was returning a library book. He didn't even look up from his tablet while he upended my professional life. The conference room smelled like fresh carpet and corporate ambition. Stephen sat there in his navy blazer, hair perfectly styled for the board meeting where he'd probably announce my departure as optimizing human capital. Next to him, Rebecca Hayes from HR looked like she'd rather be anywhere else on Earth. "I'm sorry, what exactly does that mean?" I asked. Not because I didn't understand, but because my brain needed a moment to process the word restructured as a verb. "Nothing personal, Richard," Stephen said, finally looking up with one of those practiced smiles they teach in management seminars. "We're streamlining operations, moving toward a more agile framework. Traditional cybersecurity compliance roles are becoming obsolete. I let that word settle while I looked around the room. Rebecca avoided my eyes. Brian Mitchell from finance suddenly found something fascinating on his phone. These were people I'd worked with for years, whose systems I'd protected, whose mistakes I'd quietly fixed, whose jobs I'd saved more times than they knew. "Everything's automated now," Stephen continued, making air quotes. "We need people who understand disruption, not documentation. Here's what Stephen didn't understand about obsolete cybersecurity guys like me. We don't just manage compliance paperwork. We become the paperwork." My name wasn't just on the organizational chart, it was embedded in every security protocol, every vendor agreement, every federal certification that kept Apex's $180 million in Pentagon contracts valid. I was the named technical contact for our CMMC Level 3 authorization, the primary signatory on our FedRAMP certification, the designated security officer for our top secret facility clearance. All of it tied to my personal security credentials, my biometric access, my digital signatures that I'd earned through 6 years in the Air Force and 19 years protecting classified systems. Back in the service, I learned that security isn't about disruption, it's about foundation. You build it right, maintain it properly, and it protects everything above it. Remove the foundation, and the whole structure comes down. Stephen was about to learn that lesson the hard way. There were rules about removing people like me. Boring, bureaucratic, absolutely critical rules that I'd helped write after the 2019 security incident that nearly cost us everything. That incident started small, like they always do. A subcontractor's employee installed unauthorized software on a classified system during a routine maintenance check. Sounds minor, right? That minor breach triggered a Department of Defense investigation that shut down our entire operation for 3 months. The Pentagon was ready to pull our contracts worth $160 million at the time. I spent those 3 months working 16-hour days, rebuilding our entire compliance framework from scratch. New protocols, new oversight procedures, new safeguards that would prevent any single mistake from bringing down the whole operation. The investigators called our new security architecture a model for the industry. Part of that architecture was administrative continuity protocol. Any change to key security personnel had to go through formal transition. The named technical contact couldn't just disappear. There had to be paperwork, background checks, training periods, official handovers. The whole process typically took 6 to 8 weeks for someone with my level of clearance. Stephen had given me 30 minutes. "Your exit package is all there," Stephen said, sliding the folder closer. "Severance, COBRA information, and a draft LinkedIn post announcing your departure to pursue new opportunities." I didn't touch the folder. Instead, I stood up slowly and looked at each person in that room. These people had no idea what they'd just done. They thought they were cutting overhead. What they'd actually done was remove the keystone from an arch. "No hard feelings, right, Richard?" Stephen asked. "None at all," I said. And I meant it, but not in the way he thought. I walked back to my office and sat down at my computer one last time. The admin portal opened with my credentials, same as it had every morning for 19 years. According to Apex's own security protocols, the ones I'd helped draft, departing personnel must have their access revoked within 4 hours of termination. It was a good policy, a necessary policy, and I was going to follow it to the letter. I removed my credentials cleanly, systematically. Primary technical contact. Richard Palmer, status changed to inactive. Digital signature authority revoked. Biometric access disabled. Security clearance liaison unassigned. Zero trust architecture administrator removed. The system gave me a polite warning message. Security protocols require assignment of new technical contact within 96 hours to maintain CMMC Level 3 certification. Failure to assign may result in automatic suspension of federal authorization under NIST 800-171 compliance requirements. I left it blank. According to the manual I'd helped write, only authorized personnel could assign security contacts, and as of 4:17 p.m. on Thursday afternoon, I was no longer authorized personnel. Then I opened my email and composed a message to Timothy Sullivan, our compliance liaison at the Pentagon Defense Acquisition Office. Tim, effective today, I am no longer employed at Apex Security Systems. Please update your contact records accordingly. My access credentials have been revoked per standard protocol. Best regards, Richard Palmer. Professional, clean, by the book. I clicked send and watched 19 years of access privileges disappear. Then I packed my coffee mug, the one Michelle got me that said world's most patient husband, into a cardboard box and walked out. Nobody said goodbye. Brian Mitchell walked past while I was cleaning out my desk, saw me, but suddenly found something urgent on his phone. Jennifer Collins did the same thing. That's how it works. You become invisible the moment you're not useful anymore. The thing about being a cybersecurity compliance director is that nobody really understands what you do until it stops working. It's like being the guy who maintains the foundation of a building. Everything looks fine until the walls start cracking. I'd spent 19 years being that foundation. Every security audit, every compliance review, every panicked 3 a.m. phone call when some contractor uploaded sensitive data to the wrong server. The invisible work that kept Apex's reputation intact and their contracts flowing. Stephen thought he could delete me like outdated software. What he didn't realize was that I hadn't just managed the security protocols. I had become them. And now, 96 hours later, the system was doing exactly what I designed it to do when someone removed the foundation without proper procedure. The countdown had started Thursday at 4:17 p.m. Now it was Monday at 6:47 a.m., and time was up. I drove home Thursday evening in my 2019 15 150, listening to talk radio and thinking about how I was going to explain this to Michelle. 19 years at the same company, and suddenly I was obsolete. Stephen probably couldn't tell the difference between FISMA and FERPA if his life depended on it, but he was modernizing the operation. Michelle was grading papers at the kitchen table when I walked in. She teaches high school chemistry at the school down the road. Same job for 16 years. Real job security, unlike the corporate world where experience makes you a target for cost cutting. "You're home early," she said, looking up from a stack of test papers. "Got fired today," I said, setting my cardboard box down by the door. She put down her red pen and really looked at me. "What happened? New CEO wants to modernize." Apparently, I'm too old-fashioned for the digital age. Michelle stood up and hugged me. No dramatic speeches, no anger, just that steady support that comes from 28 years of marriage. "We'll figure it out," she said. "Anthony's doing well in college, and we've got savings." That's my wife. Always practical, always looking ahead. One of the reasons I fell in love with her back when we were young and thought the world made sense. Anthony's our son, 20 years old, studying computer science at UT. Kid's got a good head on his shoulders, unlike some people I could mention. But here's what Michelle didn't know. What Stephen didn't know, what nobody at Apex seemed to understand. Removing me from the system without proper protocol wasn't just a personnel decision. It was a compliance violation that would trigger automatic reviews at multiple levels of government oversight. The administrative continuity protocol wasn't just company policy. It was part of our federal security authorization. Break the protocol, lose the authorization. Lose the authorization, lose the contracts. I'd built those safeguards specifically to prevent what Stephen had just done. The irony was perfect. He'd fired me for being obsolete, and in doing so, he'd violated the very systems I'd created to protect the company. Friday morning came with coffee and the newspaper. Instead of reviewing overnight security alerts, I was looking at job ads for the first time in 19 years. The job market for 54-year-old cybersecurity directors wasn't exactly booming, but I had good references and a security clearance that took years to obtain. Around 10 a.m., my phone started ringing. First call was from Brian Mitchell. "Richard, hey, sorry to bother you. We're having some issues with the Pentagon reporting system. The quarterly compliance report won't generate, and there's some kind of authentication error. Do you know what might be causing that? Sorry, Brian. I'm not authorized to troubleshoot Apex systems anymore. You should contact Steven about getting proper IT support, but you built this system. Can't you just tell us what's wrong? I can't access systems I don't have clearance for anymore. That would be a violation of the same protocols Steven says are obsolete." Second call came from Rebecca Hayes. "Richard, I know this is awkward, but we're getting calls from government offices asking about security contact information. They want to verify our compliance status for some kind of review. Sounds like standard procedure, Rebecca. You'll need to have your current security team handle those inquiries." What current security team? Steven restructured the entire department. There it was. The moment Rebecca realized what Steven had actually done, he hadn't just fired one obsolete employee. He'd eliminated the entire infrastructure that kept their $180 million in contracts valid. What I didn't tell her was that Apex didn't have anyone left who understood the systems I'd built. Steven had probably figured they could outsource cybersecurity to some consulting firm for half the cost. Good luck getting a consultant through the 6-month background check process required for top secret clearance. Third call was from Timothy Sullivan at the Pentagon Defense Acquisition Office. "Mr. Palmer, we received your notification about your employment change. We need to schedule a compliance review to verify Apex's continued security authorization." This was the call I'd been expecting. "I'm no longer employed by Apex, Tim. You'll need to speak with their current management." "I understand, Richard, but according to our records, you were the primary technical contact for their security authorization. We need documentation showing proper transfer of those responsibilities before we can approve continued access to classified systems. You'll have to take that up with Apex management." We tried. Mr. Morrison said they've automated their security protocols and don't need a designated contact anymore. I almost laughed. Steven thought security clearances worked like software licenses. Pay the fee, download the access, forget about it until renewal time. He had no idea that cybersecurity compliance was built on relationships, trust, and human expertise that couldn't be automated away. "Tim, I wish I could help, but I'm not authorized to represent Apex anymore." "Understood. We'll be conducting our review starting Monday. If Apex can't demonstrate proper security protocols and designated personnel, we'll have to suspend their authorization pending investigation." Friday evening, Jennifer Collins texted me. "Richard, really sorry about yesterday. Can you help with something quick? The security dashboard is showing some error messages, and we can't figure out what they mean." I stared at the message for a long time. Jennifer was a good person caught in Steven's cost-cutting crusade. She'd been with the company for 8 years, worked her way up from junior analyst to project manager. Smart, dedicated, and completely screwed by management decisions she had no control over. But I wasn't employed by Apex anymore. I had no authority to access their systems, no authorization to provide technical support. More importantly, I had no legal protection if something went wrong. I typed back, "Sorry, Jennifer. I'm no longer authorized to assist with Apex systems. You'll need to contact your current IT security team." She replied immediately, "We don't have one anymore." Saturday and Sunday passed quietly. I helped Michelle with some yard work, took a long walk around the neighborhood, and spent time in my garage workshop. I've been building a bookshelf for my granddaughter Emma. She's Anthony's cousin, my brother's kid, 16 years old and sharp as a tack. Kid wants to study cybersecurity when she gets to college, keeps asking me about penetration testing and ethical hacking. Grandpa Rick, she calls me, even though I tell her she's getting too old for that. Can you show me how zero-trust architecture really works? Last time she visited, I spent 2 hours explaining network segmentation while we worked on her bookshelf together. She gets it in a way that Steven Morrison never will. Normal retirement activities, except I wasn't quite retired yet, and Apex was about to discover what happens when you remove the foundation without checking what it was holding up. The 96-hour countdown I'd accidentally triggered was ticking down like a time bomb nobody knew had been armed. Thursday 4:17 p.m. to Monday 4:17 p.m. exactly. 96 hours for Apex to assign a new technical contact or face automatic suspension of federal authorization. Monday morning, my phone started ringing at 6:47 a.m. Richard, thank God you picked up. Jennifer's voice cracked through the speaker. The entire security system is locked out. Everything's down. Stephen is freaking out and wants to know if you can come in immediately. I took a sip of my coffee and looked out the kitchen window at the Austin sunrise. Jennifer, I don't work for Apex anymore, remember? I was restructured out last Thursday. I know, but nobody else knows how to fix this. The Pentagon is calling. Our clients can't access their portals, and Stephen keeps saying something about federal authorization being suspended. I could picture the chaos at Apex. People staring at error messages they couldn't understand. Systems that had worked perfectly for years suddenly displaying red warnings about suspended authorization and invalid contacts. It would look like a cyber attack to anyone who didn't understand compliance protocols. Sounds like a job for your current IT security team, I said. What IT security team? Stephen restructured the whole department. There it was, the moment Jennifer realized what Stephen had actually done. He hadn't just fired one obsolete employee. He'd eliminated the entire infrastructure that kept their $180 million in contracts valid. After I hung up, Michelle poured herself coffee and sat down across from me. That sounded important. Apex is having some technical difficulties, the kind you could fix, the kind I used to prevent. My phone rang again. Stephen's name on the caller ID. I let it go to voicemail. He called back immediately. I let that one go too. The third call, I answered. Richard, thank God. We need you here immediately. There's been some kind of system malfunction, and we can't access any of our security protocols. I'm not employed by Apex anymore, Stephen. Remember, I was restructured out. This is an emergency. We'll pay consulting rates, whatever you want. What seems to be the problem? The Pentagon called this morning. They said our security authorization has been suspended pending investigation. They want documentation about security protocol transfers, but we don't have any documentation because everything was automated. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. You could hear the panic in his voice, that edge that comes when someone realizes they've made a mistake that can't be fixed with money or connections. Did you assign a new technical contact for your federal authorizations? We don't need a technical contact. Everything's handled by our security software now. Stephen, security software doesn't hold top secret clearances. People do. And according to federal regulations, you need a cleared individual designated as primary contact for all classified system access under CMMC Level 3 requirements. Silence. I could picture him in that conference room, probably surrounded by lawyers and consultants charging $500 an hour to tell him things I could have explained for free last Thursday. Can you fix this? He asked finally. I can't fix anything. I don't have clearance to work on Apex systems anymore. You terminated my access when you terminated my employment, but you built these systems. You know how they work. That's correct. I also knew how to maintain them properly, but apparently my knowledge was obsolete. Another long pause. You could hear voices in the background, people talking fast and urgent. Crisis management mode, but they were managing the wrong crisis. What do we need to do? You need to hire a qualified security director with appropriate clearances. Have them undergo background investigation and protocol training, then submit formal documentation to the Pentagon requesting transfer of technical contact authority. The whole process typically takes 6 to 8 weeks. We don't have 6 to 8 weeks. We have government contracts worth $180 million that depend on our security authorization. Then you probably shouldn't have fired your security director without having a replacement ready. I hung up. An hour later, Rebecca Hayes called. Richard, I'm sorry to bother you, but we've got investigators from the Government Accountability Office here asking about security protocols. They want to interview the former technical contact about proper transition procedures. I'd be happy to speak with them, Rebecca. Have them call me directly. Can you come in for the interview? I'm not allowed on Apex property anymore. My access badge was deactivated Thursday afternoon per standard protocol. The GAO investigator called that afternoon. Patricia Davis, Senior Compliance Officer. Professional, courteous, extremely thorough. The kind of person who understood that cybersecurity wasn't about disruption, it was about doing things right. Mr. Palmer, we're conducting a review of Apex Security's authorization transfer procedures. Can you walk me through the standard protocol for transitioning technical contact responsibilities? I explained the entire process step by step. background investigations, clearance transfers, documentation requirements, training periods, formal notification procedures. Everything that should have happened but didn't. And was this protocol followed when you left Apex Security? No, ma'am. I was terminated at 3:45 p.m. Thursday and had my access revoked by 4:30 p.m. the same day. No transition period, no replacement designated, no formal transfer of responsibilities. I see. In your professional opinion, does this constitute a violation of administrative continuity protocol? Yes, ma'am. A clear violation of both company policy and federal requirements. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Your cooperation is appreciated. By Wednesday, word was spreading through the defense contractor community. When a major company loses federal authorization, people notice. Richardson had managed to turn Apex Security from a respected Pentagon contractor into a cautionary tale in less than a week. My phone started ringing with job offers. Companies that understood the value of experienced security directors. Places where 19 years of experience was considered an asset rather than obsolete overhead. Allied Defense Solutions offered me a director position with a 25% salary increase. National Defense Technologies wanted me to head their new compliance division. Even some of Apex's former clients reached out about consulting work. Word travels fast in the defense contractor world, especially when someone with my security clearance and track record becomes available. Thursday afternoon, Stephen called again. Richard, we need to talk face to face. About what? About coming back. We can work something out. Your old position plus a raise plus consulting fees for fixing this situation. My old position doesn't exist anymore. Remember? You eliminated it because traditional cybersecurity compliance roles are obsolete. We made a mistake. We're willing to admit that. You made several mistakes, Stephen. You fired an employee without understanding what they did. You violated federal security protocols. You lost your Pentagon authorization. And now you want me to clean up the mess. We'll pay whatever you want. I don't want anything from Apex. I want to work for a company that values experience and follows proper procedures. Richard, please. Without our Pentagon contracts, we'll have to lay off 60% of our workforce. People will lose their jobs because of this. That hit differently. Jennifer Collins, Brian Mitchell, Rebecca Hayes. Good people caught up in Stephen's efficiency campaign. People with families and mortgages and responsibilities. Stephen. Those people are going to lose their jobs because you made decisions without understanding the consequences. I tried to prevent this exact situation by building safeguards into your security protocols. You ignored those safeguards and fired the person who created them. I hung up and turned off my phone. Friday morning, Michelle and I were having breakfast when she asked the question I'd been expecting. Do you feel bad about what happened to Apex? I thought about it for a long time before answering. I feel bad for the people who are going to lose their jobs, but I don't feel bad about following proper security protocols. Stephen wanted to run a defense contractor without understanding defense regulations. The system worked exactly the way it was designed to work. So what happens now? Now I take a job with a company that understands the difference between efficiency and recklessness, and Apex either figures out how to rebuild their security program or they go out of business. And Stephen learns that some things can't be disrupted. Some systems exist for good reasons, and some people, even obsolete ones, know what they're talking about. The irony wasn't lost on me. Stephen had fired me for being too traditional, too focused on paperwork and procedures. But those boring procedures were the only thing standing between Apex and complete collapse. Remove the foundation, and the building falls down. Over the weekend, I got calls from 2 more companies. By Sunday evening, I had 4 solid job offers, each one better than what I'd been making at Apex. I chose Patriot Security Solutions. Better salary, better benefits, and a CEO who understood that cybersecurity isn't about disruption. It's about stability, consistency, and following the rules even when they seem inconvenient. Patriot had been trying to break into the Pentagon contractor market for years. Having someone with my clearance level and track record gave them instant credibility. Within 2 months, we'd won our first major government contract. Ironically, one that Apex had been competing for before their authorization got suspended. Monday brought news that Apex's Pentagon contracts had been officially suspended pending completion of the GAO investigation. No new work, no payments on existing projects, no access to classified systems. For a company that derived 80% of its revenue from government contracts, it was effectively a death sentence. Stephen called me one more time that week. Richard, I'm prepared to offer you partnership, not just your job back. Actual equity in the company. You help us fix this, and you become part owner. Stephen, you don't seem to understand. Your company is finished. Even if you somehow restore your security authorization, every other defense contractor now knows you don't understand basic compliance requirements. Why would the Pentagon trust you with new contracts? Because we'll have you running security. You had me running security. You fired me because you thought it was unnecessary. Silence on the other end. What if I resign? What if the board brings in new management? That might help your chances of rebuilding in 3 or 4 years, but the damage is done. Your competitors are already calling your clients, offering to take over your contracts. Your best employees are updating their resumes. You don't recover from this kind of compliance failure. I wasn't being cruel, just honest. Stephen had created a textbook case of what happens when management doesn't understand the systems they're managing. I'm sorry, Richard. I should have listened to you. You should have. But more than that, you should have tried to understand what I did before you decided it was obsolete. That was our last conversation. Apex declared bankruptcy 12 weeks after I was fired. Stephen found a new job as a consultant, probably helping other companies modernize their operations. Some people never learn, but the people who lost their jobs found new ones too. Jennifer Collins joined Patriot Security as a project manager. I recommended her personally. Brian Mitchell moved to the private sector with a 30% salary increase. Rebecca Hayes took early retirement with a decent severance package. The funny thing about the whole situation was that I never set out to destroy Apex. I just followed the same protocols I'd been following for 19 years. The difference was that for the first time, those protocols actually got tested when someone removed the person who maintained them. Stephen thought he was cutting costs and modernizing operations. What he'd actually done was remove the keystone from an arch and hope the rest of the structure would hold. It didn't. 6 months later, I was settling into my new routine at Patriot when Michelle asked me if I missed Apex. I miss the people, I said. I miss feeling like I was part of something important, but I don't miss working for someone who didn't understand or value what I did. Do you think Stephen learned anything? I think Stephen learned that compliance isn't just paperwork. That experience matters, that you can't automate institutional knowledge. And you? What did you learn? I thought about that for a while. I learned that sometimes being obsolete means you're the only one who remembers why things work the way they do. And that's not something you can modernize away. Emma finished her bookshelf last weekend. We installed it in her bedroom and she's already filling it with cybersecurity textbooks. Smart kid. She understands that building something right takes time, patience, and respect for the people who came before you. Looking back, the whole thing played out like a case study in unintended consequences. Stephen wanted to eliminate what he saw as bureaucratic overhead. Instead, he eliminated the only thing preventing bureaucratic oversight from shutting down his company. I kept doing the same job I'd always done. Protecting systems, following protocols, maintaining the boring foundation that keeps everything else standing. It's not glamorous work, but it's important work. And sometimes when young executives talk about disrupting traditional cybersecurity models, I tell them the story of Apex Security Systems. How a company with $180 million in contracts disappeared in 12 weeks because someone thought experience was obsolete. They usually listen pretty carefully after that. The foundation holds up the building. Remove it at your own risk. Sometimes the most dangerous person in a company isn't the one making noise about change, but the quiet one who actually knows how everything works and what happens when it stops working. You can fire experience, but you can't fire the consequences of not having it.